Hello there, everyone listening to the YouTube channel and beyond. This is episode number 7 of the Kelly Berger Comedy Podcast. I am Kelly Berger. Hopefully, you already know that by now. We're here with Darren on tech support.
Hello.
Yep. And today is episode number lucky 7. And what a lucky guest number it is today. Our guest today is Minneapolis native and current LA comedian Josh Florhaug.
Hey, lucky 7. Cool.
Yeah.
Now, man, I'm very excited to be the lucky 7 now. Cool.
Yeah, it's a good number. Like I was born. 7's like a good number in my life. Like I was born in 87 in the 7th month.
Ooh. I was also born in 87, but on the 5th day of the 1st month.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, you had your birthday a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Sorry I missed that, but I turned off birthday notifications on my Facebook.
I have mine off too. I'll see them every now and then. If I see somebody post a happy birthday, I'll usually just comment on that, but there's no rhyme or reason behind who I wish happy birthday to. It's if I see it.
Yep. It's one of the best decisions of my life, dude. Canceling that.
Yeah. Because that you'd get like 7, you'd wake up and you'd have 7 notifications. You're like, oh, what happened? You're like, oh, it's somebody I don't even really know's birthday. Who cares?
Yeah, I'm trying to get on Facebook, do the same thing with the ads, try to turn those off.
I've been big into that the last couple of weeks, just trying to get rid of those, and they'll just build new ones.
Mm-hmm. And they'll build ones that match your algorithms.
Yeah.
So you'll see like porn ads in front of your relatives.
I'm gonna be totally honest with you, Kelly. All my girlfriend's Christmas presents this year were Facebook ads.
Nice.
The eye mask headphones that were advertised to me, I bought her those, and then I got her like a custom puzzle of me and her, but both Facebook ads, both back to back. I was like, wow, we're just canceling out my list.
Nice. Were the ads accurate, and then your girlfriend's like the presents?
She loved them. So the eye mask headphones, she said it's the best gift she's ever gotten. So
she's like, "Oh, you're so thoughtful." You're like, "I have no idea."
You're like, "Thank you, AI."
No, it's not all bad.
I know. See, AA knows my girlfriend more than I do.
Mm-hmm. Well, for those of you watching, you maybe recognize Josh from his famous pizza commercial that came out recently.
I am the Little Caesars guy now. It has been such a cool experience. That whole thing has been just awesome. I'm so excited of how it turned out. Those guys did such a great job with it. It was, as you guys have seen, it was even more fun to do it than it is to watch. So I had such a blast.
Is there did they give you any details into Daryl's backstory?
They gave me I'm just a big fan, and I got a lucky chair, and I like pizza. Yep. And I was like, you know what? I can relate to all of that, except for my team never wins, no matter what chair I sit in, but I do eat a lot of pizza.
Yep. Yeah, for the rare people who don't watch commercials, like what was the commercial again where you played Daryl who was sitting on his lucky couch for pizza?
Yeah, it's a Little Caesars commercial for the NFL. Basically, I'm a guy in my lucky chair, and the Niners are winning because of it, and they're still in the playoffs. So it might be my fault that the Niners are so good this year. And if they're hearing this, they should send me to the Super Bowl if they make it there.
Yeah. Hopefully they'll make a movie out of it pretty soon, like they did with Ernest.
Yeah, I am Ernest. Like the Geico lizard in his fake movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now you've been living in LA for quite a while now. When did you move down there?
I moved here in the middle of 2018. So I've been here kind of 5 years. I spent a couple years in Las Vegas living with my uncle. Mm-hmm. So 5 years technically I've had a place here. I've lived here about 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah. And well, like, what was like the major change in like scenery, like going from Minneapolis to LA?
The fact that it doesn't snow is super awesome. So there's no, kind of like you have in Austin, like there's no weather. So you never really have to check any of that. I mean, the weather's going to be kind of the same with how you dress. So you don't have to bundle up or anything. That's been my favorite things. Getting around obviously is a lot harder because the city's a lot bigger. Yep. So I remember parking. Finding parking is hell all the time.
Yeah, I remember the LA traffic when me and Brent, my other brother, visited LA about 4 years ago.
Yeah, we had breakfast at Foxy's.
Yep. Sitting in the LA waiting line at a restaurant, which is just as bad as the traffic sometimes.
Yeah, it's just a lot of people here. That's also what it is.
Mm-hmm. And I remember me and Brent sitting at one table, and I remember one conversation you talked about like learning about like how fake the industry is like right away.
Yeah, you learn that I don't know, it just seems a lot scarier, I think, and harder to get into than when you start doing it. It's not any different than any other scene. And yeah, it just, and then there's a lot of different people. Everybody's trying to make it in different things. So everybody does stuff in different capacities, especially with stand up. Like a lot of people will do stand up out here because that's what their acting coach told them to get into. So that's very weird. It makes like you'll meet a comic and you're like, this person doesn't even want to be a comic. They're just doing this to, why am I hanging out with this person?
Right.
Yeah. And also, why are they, because like a lot of the mics out here are lottery mics and things like that, because there's a lot of people that sign up. And it's like, oh, they're wasting spots.
Yep.
So that is a thing I don't love, is people who don't have their heart in it, like me or you or actual comics, and they get those spots, and you're like, oh, that's just another wasted spot, and that could have been any of us who actually want to go up and actually want to hypothetically get passed at this club or go up in front of this booker or these people, and then you got someone up there just kind of trying it out.
Yep, that's sort of like the same deal with Kill Tony over here in Austin, Texas, where a whole bunch of people sign up and they take up the minute from comics who actually have material.
It was just as bad here because Kill Tony was at the Comedy Store. I remember, like, if you wouldn't, because you'd have to set up in person for Potluck, because it was Potluck and Kill Tony were the same day at the Comedy Store. So you'd set up for the Comedy Store mic, and then if you didn't make that, you still had the shot at Kill Tony. So it was like you were signing up for two different mics. And then you see like 3 or 4 people on Potluck who aren't like real comics, or just people who want to like clout chase or whatever it is, or try comedy because it's cool and new. And then Kill Tony, and you're like, oh, half of this was ruined. And there's 20 of us comics sitting together. We're like, we all could have, some of us could have gotten up.
Yep, that's the same deal down here, because Kill Tony is on the same day as the open mic at the Mothership.
Okay, so they're running the same plan that they had out here. Good.
Yep.
Yeah, it gives you, it's good for like you too, because it gives you 2 shots at hopefully getting up.
Yep. Have you ever been on Kill Tony, or have seen in person?
I've seen Kill Tony in person a million times. I remember, because Kill Tony's such a big deal there, and it was here. I remember William Montgomery's first time on Kill Tony.
What?
Yeah, I know William Montgomery. I've done a bunch of shows with him out here. I've given him rides to shows. I've met William many times. He is such a character, but he is such a sweet person too.
Yeah, like his onstage performance is like a heightened version of himself, and
it is very close. I mean, I don't think I'm talking out of school with anybody who knows William Montgomery. The character of William Montgomery and who William Montgomery is, they're not so as far apart as you would think.
Yeah,
but he's such a sweet guy, and it makes it harder because I didn't know if it was a bit. Like, he thanked me like 40 times for driving, because we had a show in the OC, so it was like an hour there and back. And I picked him up at his house. He told me I could like drop him off somewhere or pick him up somewhere. And I was like, no, I'll drive you to your house. I'll pick you up at your house. And he was like, thank you so much. And I was like, are you doing a bit, or are you being nice? And he's like, no, I'm very thankful. And I'm like, oh, I don't know if I believe you.
Nice. I haven't met William yet, so he's sort of like a friend who knows another friend on a basis.
Yeah.
I've watched his podcast. I've met Casey Rocket, his co-host, a couple of times.
Okay, I've watched his podcast a handful of times. I don't know Casey, but I do know William, and yeah, he's a good dude.
Yeah,
he's very funny. I remember the first time we did a show together, I had not met him, and he just came up behind me and another comic and just leaned in. It was Josh Denny. He came up between me and Josh Denny, and he goes, "Did you guys also do a bunch of acid before you went on stage?" And we're like, "What?" And then he went up and did his set, and I was like, "Oh, he was getting us ready for this character." Because we're like, who is this guy? And also, why did he do a bunch of acid? And then he went up and did his set, and I'm like, oh, this all makes sense. And we both were like, either he did a bunch of acid just now, or he's a genius. And I'm so happy it's turned into the latter, and he's very successful now and super funny and is kind of a genius.
Yep, he sort of did that director thing where he said if a person he wants to get like an actor like sad, he gets mean to them before the scene.
Yeah. He kind of just walked around and like made it known that he was on it, which I don't know if he was on acid or not, but he did kept saying it, and it kind of all had us like weird, like we're like, this guy's just on acid at the show, and then he went up and it was like, oh, this all makes perfect sense.
Yep. Were you able to get on any Kill Tony episodes, or were you
I
just never got your name drawn?
never got my name drawn. Kelly, I am so unlucky at lottery mics. I get on probably 20% of the time. I watch people just get picked. If it's a lottery mic, I know there's a 90%. I just have bad luck at those. I don't know what it is. I'm not folding the paper right, or it's sliding under, but always. I got picked. I got picked last week. I've gone multiple times. They do set of the night at the Comedy Store. So it's like an open mic on Sunday night, and then if you get set of the night, you for sure get on potluck and get to go up in front of the booker.
Nice.
So I got picked for that, and then I got an honorable mention. I didn't win to win the set, but I was one of the like 3 people that were mentioned.
Yep. As far as I know, in Austin, we have like one lottery mic. But it's also a heckle mic on Sundays.
Okay.
Yeah, that one's a lot of fun. I go to it whenever I can.
Is people are just allowed to get rambunctious and yell out?
Yep, it's where you do 1 minute of material, then 2 minutes of getting mercilessly heckled. It's sort of like a scene hazing session.
Yeah, that sounds like a blast, and then also the most hurtful thing in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you're not prepared for it, it's just like a verbal beating.
Yeah. So
luckily, I have Willie's experience, so I'm able to handle that room.
That's a good point. That's what I was going to ask you. I'm like, do you remember all those Minnesota like Willies and Grumpies and all those bar ones? Moose would sometimes be like that, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yep, like Darren remembers this. Like one of the first nights I did comedy regularly was we went to Willie's, and we went there on what was remembered as Suicide Night.
There was a night called Suicide. Who was hosting?
It was Corey.
Okay.
Yeah, there was this Legend of Suicide Night. I think we talked about this before. There was like a large group of people who were celebrating the anniversary of their friend's suicide.
I remember that. That's what it was. Yeah, I don't know if I was there, but I definitely heard about it.
Mm-hmm. And it was like weird. And also, this was like on April 1st. So this person's anniversary was also. This person also committed suicide on April 1st.
Yeah, on April Fool's Day.
Like, hey, everyone, I'm doing well. That's probably what the note said.
Yeah, and they were not.
No.
Oh, man. Yeah, so you were built for heckle mics and stuff like that. Do you guys have a lot of like theme shows out there?
Let's see, a couple, but I've been going back and forth through a couple of jobs, so I'm going through like the year of like settling into the area.
Yep. Yeah. So how long have you been out there?
It's been 2 years now.
Okay. Yeah. So you're just getting kind of into that zone where you're like, all right, I got work figured out. Now I can like plan out my days and plan out what's kind of going on in the scene and shows that are good and aren't good.
Right. And
yeah,
that's usually like the tough part, like the first couple years. Like I'm sure, like LA comics who moved out here and they get stuck in the work saying like, damn it, I'm not hitting as many mics yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause you're still trying to figure it out. I'm trying to think about who I know out there. Mario. Do you know a guy named Mario?
Let's see. Mario, does he wear like a bandana and drives around the bike?
No, I don't think so.
He works. Is he the guy that killed Tony, the mustache?
Yeah, he's the Kill Tony guy.
Yep, I've seen him before.
Yeah, I know him. And then all the old door guys who moved from to move to the mothership.
Dean, maybe I know a couple of them.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of their name. I can't think of anybody's name right now. But all the people who moved from here. There's such a big uprising of people who left here and went there.
Oh wow! So there's like a big vacuum in LA right now.
Not really. I mean, it all got filled in.
Oh yeah, everyone's always moving into like LA, New York, and now Austin.
Yeah. There's no space. There was no void. It just filled in with other people and kept piling.
Yeah, so it kind of makes me think of reminds me of like comedy boycotts. Well, if I'm gone, you'll miss me, and then somebody else walks right in. Yeah,
you're not missing anybody. Those spots are all going to get filled. No one's boycotting anything.
Yep, that's always happens when people try to boycott a club.
Yeah. Remember, didn't people boycott Acme for a little bit? I don't remember if that. Yeah.
Yep.
And you know
2019, and when.
I was gone by then, but I was like, people are still. I remember I came back for a visit and I dropped in and I was talking to Derek and he's like, yeah, people are boycotting, but it's not like we're out of people. It's still, there's just not 70 people who won't get up. There's only 50.
Yep. That was right before I took my trip to LA. So I was like, okay.
Yeah. And then you went to Austin right after the pandemic.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I almost moved out to LA a couple years ago, but then I saw like comedy was migrating to Austin.
Mm-hmm.
So we could have been neighbors if
We could have
things.
been, and it's cheaper. Is it cheaper in Austin? I'm guessing it's a little cheaper.
I'm still just like renting rooms, so
Yeah. Well, is your room that you're renting $1,200?
no, it's half of that.
Okay, yeah, then it's cheaper.
Yeah.
I know people who are renting $1,200 rooms, so
Wow.
yeah.
And also, I'm very low maintenance. I can sustain myself in a small little room.
Yeah, yeah. I did that for the first couple years out here. I mean, I got to live in Vegas for a little bit, but
Yep. And I'm also adjusting to exposure to homelessness.
oh yeah, you guys got a lot out there, huh?
Yeah, a couple. It's
Isn't it very jarring when you see a person piss into the street?
I saw one guy take a shit in the alley. So
I saw someone take a shit by the grocery store 2 months ago, and I was like, that just ruined my whole day.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It does.
they're out there.
I remember having a conversation with one old lady, and there was this one guy in the parking lot just walking around swinging the chain.
And you're like, just don't look at them. It's like The Walking Dead. If you don't make eye contact or acknowledge, they'll hopefully leave you. There's a 96% chance they'll leave you alone.
Yep, I heard like a trick is always act like you're in a hurry someplace, and they tend to leave you alone.
Yeah, I always walk like, especially if I'm like, because I have to park far away from the Comedy Store and stuff like that. That's right on Sunset where there's so many. I just speed walk straight to my car. I usually have my phone out and I'm just scrolling through apps and stuff, so it looks like I'm doing something, and I'm just walking as fast as I can with my head down.
Yep, they're some of them are more aggressive than the ones in Minneapolis.
Yeah, I never saw like that. There was some in Minneapolis, but I never see that many.
Yeah, Minneapolis, it was just mostly when you drive by on the side of the road.
Yeah, they'd be there, but they wouldn't be like everywhere, like here in Austin, from what I'm seeing.
Yeah, and some of the comics are a little bit too mean, in my opinion, a little bit too mean with the material on the homeless, but
Yeah,
everyone's going to have that opinion.
everybody does has to have their thing on it. So, I mean, that's what comedy is, though. Comedy, everybody has an opinion, and we're all allowed to have them. And some people don't agree with them.
Yep, and also like sometimes you're in a situation like, okay, like the only difference between me and that guy is $200.
Yeah, yeah. There's some people, and there's some people who like out here, and I'm sure in Austin. Do you have like comics who live in their cars and are doing like kind of okay?
Yeah, there's been people going in and out of vehicles and doing like the friendship tour.
Yeah. Well, do people like live in their cars, like in like comics in Austin?
Hans Kim was famous for living in his van for a little bit before getting picked on Kill Tony.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, a couple like people out here. Another Kill Tony guy, Malcolm Hatchett, when Kill Tony was out here, he also lived in his car. And he talked about it on Kill Tony a lot.
Yep, like yeah, because sometimes you gotta hit the mics, and a lot of stable jobs have that solid work schedule where
Yeah.
you gotta work nights, kid.
Yeah, you're just bouncing back and forth. Are you working nights right now?
No, my moving company that I'm just this will come out later. Like the company I'm working for is shutting down right now.
Okay.
So I'm job searching again right now.
Yeah, pivoting.
Mm-hmm.
I had to do that after the pandemic.
This will be job number 6 next one I'm in since I moved down here.
Okay, so you've bounced around a little bit.
Yep, becoming like a jack of all trades.
Well, that's good because then you have better options and you can find something that works for you. That's what probably you found too out here is like finding that survival job that lets you pay your bills but still do as much comedy as possible.
Yep, and I'm learning like to make. I know I'm not. I've talked more about being autism, and we sort of like to set our routines. And right now, I'm just like making change my constant routine.
Yeah, I'm sure that's probably super hard for you. But then you readjust, right?
Yep,
you have to. Yeah,
I bounce back like Nancy Boswin.
There you go. There you go.
It's an old Weeds reference if anyone knows of it.
Dude, I watched Weeds. I loved Weeds.
Yep.
She'd bounce back every season, no matter what happened.
They always ended on like a high cliffhanger, like, oh, she got shot this one.
Yeah, she got shot. The kid killed people in like 3 different season endings, the younger one.
Yeah, I gotta watch more shows like that. I gotta get back in like a decent television routine.
Yeah. What's on the docket for the television routine?
Well, just watching like movies in general. Like I just YouTube mostly stuff to these days
Okay.
because my attention span is just like so shortened these days.
Do you feel like that has to do with YouTube and like Instagram Reels and stuff, that all of our attentions are shrinking?
Mm-hmm.
Like the clip comedy and stuff like that? Do you feel like that's just now who we are as a society? Is we can't sit through an hour special, we have to watch 1 minute clips?
Yeah, we just expect everything to be instant these days.
Yeah. Yeah, I got to get better at that. I'll be totally, I'm terrible at like cutting down. I have so much video, but I don't cut down any clips. I always say I'm gonna, and I never do. I'm so lazy
Yeah.
about it.
Also, there's read this book a couple years, 2 years ago when I first moved down here. That sort of like addressed like this situation. It's called The Comfort Crisis by. I think I'll go grab it right now.
Okay.
Yeah, Darren, you can fill in for me while I go get it.
What's up, Darren?
Oh, not a whole lot. Just living in St. Paul. Being
Where in
nice
St.
and
Paul?
cold. West St. Paul. So technically
Yeah.
I'm south of St. Paul.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so weird that West St. Paul is South St. Paul.
But we're west of South St. Paul, which is southeast of real St. Paul.
Yeah. Yeah. All the St. Pauls are named something weird. Then they
Oh,
don't
my goodness.
meet up with. Yeah.
All right, I'm back. The shelf is right there.
What is the book?
It's called The Comfort Crisis by Michael Easter.
Okay, I will check it out.
Yeah, it was a very good book. It's basically just talked about like how most of us are wired for outdoor caveman living, and our society's changed so fast we haven't adjusted to it yet.
Okay, that makes a ton of sense.
Yep.
Have you ever stayed inside for a couple days and you just get stir crazy and have to go out? I think that's what it is.
Yeah, I take daily walks now and just try to get that balance. And that's
I've been doing that.
That's what I like about Austin. It's like a big city, but also like you're in the middle of the country.
Okay, so you have like there's like land and stuff around you.
Yep.
Okay, cool. I live by the Rose Bowl, so there's like a big park, like a state park by me. So it feels like there's land, but it's all just sectioned off.
Nice.
They would build houses on it if they could.
Yeah, and you just talked about today you went to the beach with some people visiting from out of town.
Yeah, I went to the beach today. That felt really good. I don't do that enough. Every time I go, I'm like, man, I should make this more of like at least a monthly thing.
Nice.
But I'm only an hour away, but it seems like so far that and parking, I don't know. Everything seems difficult. It's not that difficult. I got there, I parked, it was all fine. And I need to start remembering that more and seeing more of the place I live.
Like I remember the driving in LA when me and my other brother went down there. Like,
yeah, that's
wow. The traffic.
Yeah, that's the problem. Sometimes it does take like it was an hour today, but like sometimes it could take an hour and 45 minutes.
And also also the driving down there is more reckless than.
Yeah, it's my mom, when she was down here, she was like, oh, this is just fast and dead. If you split second to look, she's like, you're getting ran over in this city. She's like, it just seems like you need to just go and just make your choices.
Yep. And there was even one time where me and my brother got in an Uber car accident.
Oh, really?
Yep.
You're not the first person I've heard say that. It seems like Uber is super dangerous out here.
Yeah, I guess they're just not hiring quality candidates.
They're hiring anybody. They're hiring all people who just want to make it in this business, Kelly. That's all that's out here. It's just people who want to do something.
Here, you want your driver's license? Here, get some experience.
Yeah, that's what they should be doing. They just give you a license and then they'll just let you drive Uber. But everybody needs a second side hustle to afford living out here.
Yep. Luckily in Austin, I live right close to the comedy scene, so I just go down 35W for a little bit and then I'm right there.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm a little ways out, so I have to drive, but it gives me time to like sit in my car and think about my set. That's what I've been doing with the long traffic and everything, is I just spend more time just kind of, if I have new stuff, I'm just working it out over and over in my head and like cutting it and try to put tags and do it. And then when I get there, I think more than I was going to, because I had to sit in traffic for 35 minutes.
Yep. And I suppose sometimes you can finish reading a book in that traffic.
I listen to so many I do audiobooks, I do podcasts. You need something to pass the time. I'm like I'm like over music at this point.
Nice. Let's see. Oh yeah, and also like when me and my Brent were with you one day, you talked about the time you met Brad Pitt when you were bartending.
I did meet Brad Pitt, and he was the most dreamy man in the whole world. I've ran into like I've gotten lucky through my uncle. I've got to meet a lot of people, but I've got to meet like a lot of people randomly. Yeah, I met Brad Pitt, and he was just so normal and cool, and it was cool too because he was just like a regular dude, and I think. I don't know. I myself, like, we put celebrities such on a pedestal that it was like the more I see them, and I've worked at a few higher end places out here, and I've got to wait up. Like, it just makes it seem more obtainable, if that makes sense. Like with acting or comedy, it's like these people are no different than you. They do not. Yes, they're very good at what they do, and that's why they get to do it. They've been doing it longer than me, and they've been working. But I mean, if I do it, I can be that because they're not a different. They're a human being. They eat and drink just like the rest of us, and the regular people.
I remember walking down the Hollywood Walk of Fame with my brother, and it's just sort of like amazing. You see all this stuff like the way it's presented, like through screens and through media. Then you walk down the street, and, oh look, there's that Chinese theater. It's just that building right over there.
It's just a movie theater. I live 3 blocks away from Doc Brown's house from Back to the Future.
Wow.
Sweet.
Yeah, I live in Pasadena, so right by me is I have a picture with all of them on my Instagram. Doc Brown's house, the hedge from the original Halloween movie, and the house, Michael Myers' house from the original Halloween movie, and Pee-wee's house from Pee-wee's Big Adventure are all within like 6 blocks of my apartment.
Nice.
And they're just normal blocks on the road. Like they're not special. They're not roped off. Somebody lives in them.
They're good opportunities for sending like a good Christmas card.
They are a good Christmas card opportunity, and I think that's what we did with the Pee-wee house.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you ever have any other memorable celebrity encounters?
The other day, if he's listening to this, we could still be best friends. Me and Jason Segel from Forgetting Sarah Marshall and Freaks and Geeks and all that. We grabbed the same chocolate almond milk in the grocery store because he lives right by me too. I don't know where he lives, but we go to the same grocery store because I've seen him in there 3 times. And I grabbed chocolate almond milk because I like it, and he goes, "Hey, keep that open." And he grabbed the same thing. He didn't say anything to me. He just said, "Hey, can you keep that open?" But
Nice.
but that was super cool. And then my girlfriend saw Rob Hubel at the grocery store too, who I'm a huge fan of.
I have no idea who that is. He's new?
No, he's not new. He's a comedic actor. Did you watch Goosebumps, the new Goosebumps on Hulu?
No, I haven't.
He was in that. He was in a sketch show with Aziz Ansari and Paul Scheer called Human Giant in the early 2000s on MTV. He's a guy who's been in everything, but he's always like a bit character.
Yep. One of those guys you see but you don't know.
Yes. You'd be like, "Oh, that guy." He was in Children's Hospital, which was on Adult Swim.
Oh wait, was he? Damn it, Darren! We were talking about this the other day.
Yeah, but we were talking about Rob Corddry.
Yes,
oh,
Rob Corddry was the main guy, but Rob Hubel was in it here and there.
Oh, I thought we were talking about the same guy. I feel stupid now.
I don't know.
I met Rob Corddry at the Minneapolis airport.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. This is Rob Hubel.
That guy.
That guy, yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
I've seen him in so many things.
Yeah.
I remember he was in the episode of like reverse child abuse where he got beaten up by a kid.
Yeah.
Children's Hospital.
Yeah. Yeah, he's in so much stuff, but like yeah, that's the thing. He's like a bit character. Like he's in everything, but he's not like the guy in anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that was cool because I'm just a big fan of him.
Yep. And also, speaking of big names, one of the things I liked about you, Josh, is when you were in Minneapolis, it took me like 2 years to learn that you were Louie Anderson's nephew.
Yeah, I always had like a weird thing about I never wanted to tell a ton of people because one, comedy this is the coolest thing about comedy. I was just talking about this with my buddy, is like no one cares about your pedigree for like comedy because like who you're related to or anything. Like you still have to be funny, and that's why I didn't really feel the need to tell people I was related to Louie, because like it didn't benefit me as much as I think people thought. Like some people thought I was getting a lot from it. He would get clubs to watch my tape or to audition me, but he couldn't get me a spot. If I was opening for him at the club, that's different. But anywhere he had me open, I always got booked back. Anywhere he shot my tape to, I got booked there at least a couple times. Like I've got to perform at the Laugh Factory because he did send my tape over, and I've gotten booked back many times since then.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yep. Do you want to tell us like what it was like growing up with Uncle Louie, was just on the road constantly?
I never knew him. I didn't know Louis. I don't know if you know the story. I didn't meet Louis till I got booked to work with him.
Oh wow.
I had met Louis like once or twice when I was a kid at like family reunions, like just saying hi. Like we never talked. He didn't know who I was. He knew like hypothetically who I was. He knew that his sister, my grandma, had a daughter who had kids. He didn't know like, oh, that is Josh. But I was emceeing at Joe Roberts Wine Bar, if you remember that. It was a wine bar in St. Croix Falls. And because I'm pretty clean, and I was very clean at that time.
Mhm.
I was emceeing, and he needed a clean MC for Louis, and he was just booking it, and he was like, "Hey, you're very clean, and would you like to MC for Louis Anderson? I can't pay you any money, but you get to work with Louis Anderson." And that was how he pitched it. He had no idea, and I said yes. And then I met Louis, and Louis found out I did comedy that day
Oh wow.
at the show, and then we started working. He pulled me aside. He watched my set. He goes, "I like you. I'm gonna let you open for me when I'm in town, and then we'll go from there." He goes, people pay a lot of money to come see me. If you have a bad set, you will never open for me again. I mean, I don't care that we're related. These people need a great show, and I have so many openers and stuff like that. He's like, it's no offense, but you need to be on, and you need to be working. And I just never got fired.
Wow.
And then we end up working on the road so much together, and then hanging out a lot. And then I moved here, and I lived with him through the pandemic. And unfortunately, I was with him when he got sick, and I took care of him all through that.
Wow. And hearing you say like you never met him growing up, it sort of makes sense because I now have a niece and nephew, and right when they were born is right when I got on Minneapolis.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and like hopefully your career just rises and rises, and then you are this famous person, but you are doing it still in Austin. So you are going back to visit maybe once a year, so you're popping in and seeing them, but it's not like you're like not a giant part of their life. Like you know who they are, but you're not like best friends with them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's see. Did Louis give you any good advice on like how to perform like a decent, clean set? Because I know comedians always talk about time like, oh, is this clean? Is this clean? Like I don't know where the line is.
That's a great question. Because there is a different line with anywhere you perform, especially like if you do corporates and stuff. The rule of thumb to a lot of people is always, would you do it in front of like your grandma or your mom? Sex talk, innuendos are usually okay, but don't be extremely graphic. That's a big one. Like kind of beating around the bush a little bit. Anything that they would show in a PG-13 movie is a really good one.
And also detail.
Yes, if it's sexual or anything, detail. Swearing, you can probably get away with saying shit once or twice, but no swearing at all. No detail about your body or your genitals, which is hard for comics.
And also, here's another clean beat. Like I recently watched Jeff Foxworthy's special, like that came out a couple years ago. He was able to talk about porn in like a clean way. Yeah,
you can make anything as long as you're like, I want to say the word wholesome, I guess. Like as long as you're wholesome about it, like if you found porn, that's a little different than if you're like, I'm like looking at it and stuff. But like, yeah, or like your kids find it. It's not like super dirty, but it beats around it. Yeah, I would say like the big clean guys to watch now that are super great are like a Nate Bargatze or Andrew Norelli, Ryan Hamilton. Those are all like really good clean comics that do touch on like some like not racier-ish like stuff, but like they beat around it and mention it, but it's still very clean and wholesome.
Yep. And I also watched a lot of dry bar just so I see like, oh, you can still be clean and not feel like you're being fake.
Yeah, you can be clean and be hilarious. It's just kind of harder to do for some people.
Yep, like classic example is Mary Mack. She does a good job.
She is a killer and 100% clean. She swears more on that cartoon than I've ever heard her swear in her life.
Yeah, are you talking about the one where she's the little girl with the
Solar Opposite? Yeah.
I was thinking like the first one she did for like animation to animation, like one where she's like has like the demon friend.
Oh yeah, that cartoon too. I forgot about that.
I'm trying to remember the name of it.
I don't remember. It was like something and the Destroyer or something. I don't remember, but I remember.
Golden
Yeah,
Destroyer, something that starts with a G.
yeah. It,
That was a great show.
it
I remember seeing when that first came up. I was still living in Little Falls. I was like, oh my goodness, there's somebody I know who's on television.
Yeah, I think Mary Mac, especially being a Minneapolis comic, that's like all of our first like the first celebrity comic we all meet is Mary. Because I remember I did House of Comedy. I was like 4 months in. I did the contest and I advanced to the semis, and she was flying out, and I was bartending at the airport. And she came by and she's like, I can't pop in. She's like, but I heard you work here. I just want to see you had a great set. And she ran out, and it was like I just had to like pause. I'd like go in the back for a minute. I was like, that was just like there's people at the bar. I'm like, you guys don't get what happened, but the coolest thing in the world just happened to me. She's very famous. She is flying on an airplane to go do comedy, and she is so cool. And she just told me I was funny.
Yep. Did you remember her Conan set?
Yeah, yeah,
I remember in Minneapolis when everyone just gravitated in the bar towards the TV to watch Mary do Conan.
yeah. I mean, that all that stuff is so cool, and that was kind of the cool part about coming up in Minneapolis is there is so many like big, great comics who come from there.
Mm-hmm.
So we all got to get good with people who are like good, as opposed to like some scenes that don't have big names that still live there.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were working out with people who were great, like a Chad Daniels or a Mary Mack and stuff like that. Tommy Ryman, all these people are just at shows, and it's like, wow, they're doing Conan, they're doing all this, and they're still at this open mic working out.
Yep. Minneapolis is like one of the best scenes to start out in because it's sort of like at the perfect size of like you got big names coming through and people who know each other. It's like comedy high school.
It is like comedy high school because you're learning a lot, and then I guess you eventually graduate or you find a way to. Mary has weirdly found a way to still live there and do TV, so she's been very lucky at that. But a lot of people do get out, and you come to hear Austin was so much so you're so quick-witted and such a good joke writer at that time that I think you jump a lot of steps right away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. People start taking you seriously a lot earlier when you're from Minneapolis. I think that the name holds a lot of weight.
Yep. And Patrick Sate, the guy who wrote the book about the comedy scene in Minneapolis, he made a great comparison. He said like Minneapolis and Minnesota has much influence on comedy as Prince did on music.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because I mean, there's been so many iterations too. Because it started with the comedy all stars with like Scott Hansen and my uncle and Bill Bauer, and then you get into the era of like Nick Schwartzen and Mitch Hedberg, and then now Chad Daniels and Mary Mack, and it just keeps going. Now Ollie Sultan and Tommy Ryman, and it's like every couple of years there's like people who are just gigantic big names in comedy, all from Minneapolis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you got that combination of just that quick good writing and also relatability, like the Minnesota nice.
We stay. We don't. I don't know any Minneapolis comics who want to be like this fake character of anybody on stage or like try to act like they're anybody but themselves. And I think like you said, that is kind of what we all got in spades is relatability. Because we are being Midwestern, you are kind of very everyman. You do have experiences that most people have. It's very normal and not weird or out there. And I think people relate to us a lot more because we're nice.
Mm-hmm. And also, like a lot of people start out at Acme. It's like a really great club to start out at.
Yeah, we learn how to work a crowd because does Austin have like just open mics where you're just performing to comics? Most of it.
It's
that's how LA is. And you know what? A lot of those people won't learn how to perform in front of crowds because they're just learning how to perform in front of comics. But me and you starting in Minneapolis, we're going to Acme, we're going to Sisyphus, we're going to House of Comedy. Mm-hmm. Even like Terminal Bar or smaller mics and stuff like that have like 10 people who are there to watch. And that seems not worth it. And once you're in Austin or LA, you're like 10 people. Let's give them a show. But like in Minneapolis, you're like, oh, this sucks.
Yeah, so the trouble like going to like a comedy hub like too early when you're starting out, because you go to those, you're not going to learn like how to be within a crowd, and also those are not the best places to have your first exposure to scene drama.
Yeah, and now you know how to stay away from it, how to only be involved with stuff that affects you and not get too wrapped up in the drama. More about just staying funny, keeping your head down, being nice to everybody.
Picking the battles that matter.
Picking the battles that matter. I still stay like super Midwest. If I get on a good show, I still email the people the next day. That's been a big thing I've really been trying to be good at. I'll email them the next day thanking them for the stage time and stuff like that. That's always helped me get booked back. And just being polite and nice to everybody.
Yep.
Which is such a rare thing. I mean, so many people when I did the commercial complimented me on just how fun I was. like the people who are like the prop people and the camera guys and the director and everything. They're like, this was such a pleasure working with you. You had like no gripes about any. You didn't gripe about one thing. You did everything we asked. You did more, and you did it all with a smile. And you were hanging out and having fun. They're like, this is so like not the usual. And I was like, really? This is the coolest job in the world. I did 40 auditions for other things that I didn't get any callbacks for. It's such a crapshoot to get it. Why not, when you get it, just treat it like the biggest piece of gold in the world and do everything they expect from you and more, because it's such a great opportunity to get, instead of being like, I am too good for this and that's what I'm going to put off. No, don't. Show them how thankful you are, because that was Louie's biggest advice that he ever gave me. Is this was kind of towards the end. He was like, I had a 40-year career, man. I don't regret anything. He's like, I was never the best comic in the world. I was never the best looking guy. I was a fat guy in the 90s, comedic actor. He was battling Candy, Farley, like all these giants for roles. And he goes, you know how I stayed working is because I stayed nice. I thanked everybody who gave me anything. I learned everybody's name. I talked to the person bringing the food in. I talked to all the PAs and hung out with them, learned stuff about them and was their friends. He's like, I was never too big for anybody in the room. And that's how you should stay, because that's what's going to get you more work. He's like, as long as you're good at your job and you don't have to be the best. The best exists, and that's one person or two people.
You can have fun doing it, and it'll be contagious.
Yeah, you can have fun, and as long as you're good, like, you don't have to be A+ out of the gate. If you do a B job and are having fun and being contagious and being polite, it's a good enough job, and you're going to get more work. Like we watch so much stuff. None of those people that we like are the best actor. Rob Hubel isn't the best actor in the world. He's a great actor, but he gets booked back probably because he's a great dude and seems super fun.
Yeah, I think a lot of people go into comedy with the mentality like, oh, so this is going to be like Dragon Ball Z or a comic book fight, trying to get that up the hierarchy,
trying to battle your way up. It's like, don't polite your way up.
Yep. You do it a couple years and you realize like, oh, being a comic is sort of like the same thing as being like a blue collar worker. Like your job is like to give people a break from their horseshit life.
That is the best way to look at it, Kelly. And that's the way I try to look at it. Before I did comedy, I worked in like fine dining and stuff like that. So really nice restaurants where people were coming out, and that was kind of beaten into us, is like, this is these people's birthday or anniversary or big dinner and stuff like that. Give them the time of their life because they saved up for it. And that's how I've gone into every set I've ever done for any show I've done in comedy, is these people got a babysitter. They like comedy. Maybe they're trying out comedy for the first time. Maybe they want to go to a show and this is the club by their house. And they're like, let's try this out. Why wouldn't my job be anything but going out there and making sure they come back and check out more comedy and have fun? It's not about me. I mean, I wrote the jokes and the jokes are about me and stuff, but me telling them on stage has nothing to do with me. I can't make it my own. If I had a bad day, be aggressive and mean to the crowd. That's not why I'm there. I'm there to give these people, like you said, an escape. The world sucks. All of our jobs suck. Stuff's expensive. These people don't want to hear about any of that shit. They want to come out and they want to laugh and have a fun time and forget that they have a 2-year-old who won't stop throwing up, or they have a job that they have to work 70 hours a week at that they hate. Let's just give them the break. And that's what I love about comedy.
Yep. It's a good job to sort of, people come in like with all their problems tangled in a comics like now, where you're going to untangle and talk about the experience of like being a human.
Yeah. Make everybody feel less alone.
And plus, if you bring up your problems, people have problems relating, like
Yeah.
say people having like ton of problems like with work and dating and families clashing.
And then you make jokes about it, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, I have that problem too." That's hilarious. It's fun.
Yeah. Let me get some water.
Yeah. Yeah, that was kind of the advice I always got from Louie is like just work hard, don't get involved in any of the gossip you don't have to, and just be as funny as possible, because that's what's going to get you to the top no matter what. The talent always rises.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and I think one of the things biggest I'm gonna transition to a different topic right now, but I think like in terms of like mental illness, I think like one of the biggest drivers like in entertainment is like we sort of like see people like the mask on and off.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all that stuff is taking the mask off.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where it's going with that. I was like, you said exactly what I was just gonna repeat.
I'm gonna go to the list of I always come to these interviews with a list of bullet points, try to keep it free flowing.
Yeah, let's bullet points it. What do we got? What do you want to know about me?
All right. Here's someone will transition with right into it. I also want to talk about like your experience growing up as a male cheerleader.
Yeah. I think that helped my humor more than anything. To be totally that I contribute so much of what I do now, and I've luckily got to thank my coach for it recently. Mm-hmm. I was always a shy, smaller guy, and I liked to make jokes. The whole reason I got into cheer, I liked to make jokes in class, and I really didn't fit in with anything, but I was always very silly and funny. And my coach was the cheer coach, or my teacher was the cheer coach. And she was like, how do you want to do cheer? How about you do cheer? And then we're also getting a mascot costume. So I'd like you to also be our mascot. So that's why I got in cheer, was to be the mascot.
I thought you were straight cheerleader.
I was the mascot for 2 years. I was a nationally ranked mascot. I went to nationals for mascotting. Yeah.
Wow. What was your mascot?
We were the Dysart Demons. It was like the old Hanna-Barbera, like you've seen that devil, like the devil with the diaper. It was that. It was the Dysart Demons, and it was the Hanna-Barbera suit. It was so funny. I went to nationals 2 years. It was awesome. It was just me being silly in a costume. I can't dance on rhythm. I don't know how rhythm works. So it was so funny to watch me dance bad, like during the band. And I thought I had no idea how bad I was, but I was just trying my best and having as much fun as I could.
It was like wearing the mascot mask to help you increase your confidence, being like, oh,
it did. And it gave me like I knew I was in there, but I was playing a character. So it really got me out of my shell, because it was, like you said, it was like kind of teetering into getting to be bigger than this shy kid, because I'm in a costume, in a mask. So a lot of people don't know who I am, but I get to be as weird and funny as I want and try this out without any real backlash on me as a person, because no one really knows who's in there. If it didn't work out, they'd just pick a new mascot, and I would have been throwing girls in the air again by the next football game. Nice. There would have been no difference, because one guy was the mascot. He was the first pick, and he failed in a week and a half. And then I got in there, and I was just bonkers silly. And because I knew I couldn't dance, and I could backflip in the suit a little bit, but not good enough for a competition. So I knew there's things I couldn't do. So I was like, if I out silly this whole thing, I'll get to stay. And I got to stay. I got to do it for junior and senior year.
Nice.
So it got me very out of my shell and got me into performing. And I think it got me into a position too with like competition, because I got, like I said, I got to go to nationals. So I won regionals and I won state both years to get to qualify. And it put me in this mode, which now I get into for shows, where it's like, leave it all out on the table. Go out there and do everything you can, as big as you can. And it just, it's a competition. So go out there, and if you do the best that you can do, you won't feel bad about the place you get in. And that's kind of the mindset I've had for any comedy competition or anything. It's like, as long as I do the absolute best I can, then whatever happens. There's nothing else I can do. And that's how I've gone into auditions. hence the Little Caesars thing. I went into that. I got that script and I was like, this guy's in a chair. This is hilarious. I wasn't in the room yet. I was walking with the producer to take me in for the audition. It's just you and a guy in a cubicle, kind of. And he was like, how about you do this? And then like, he was just pitching me stuff to do in the chair, and he's just recording it to show it to like the production. And then they had a callback with all of them. By the second one, I did all the stuff and they were laughing a lot. And I just started pitching things in the world that they were working there. Like they had me in an office building. I'm like, what if I did this in the chair? And they're like, let's see what that would look like. I'm like, let's see what that would look like. And then I started doing it. I started doing my own thing. And I was just kept pitching it to them and they were just dying. And I was like, I love this format. And it was like that with cheer. We'd create something and then I'd make it bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think I do that with comedy too. It just all got to fall together and it feels really cool.
Yep. I can see how like that translates into comedy. Like you're putting yourself out and also you're being more open and vulnerable.
Yeah. Yeah. My grandma tells me about that. She's like, you were such a shy kid. And she's like, when you said you wanted to sign up, I was so hesitant. Me and your mom were so hesitant to pay or let you do it because we assumed you were going to quit right away. Because I was so shy that they were worried about like the bullying and everything. And then me not being good at it and then just getting frustrated and quitting. And then I got like the sense of pride and then just pushed as hard as I could.
Mm-hmm. And did you get bullied for being a male cheerleader?
So much. But this is kind of the silly comedic thing is I had so many comebacks because I couldn't fight. I could not fight at all, but I was like very sharp tongue, like dealing with hecklers. I was always kind of that guy. I always knew how to. I always knew how to kick back right away. I couldn't defend myself once it came to fighting. I would just get the shit kicked out of me. But I definitely got myself in a lot of those fights.
That's another thing I was going to bring up. Like, I suppose like being a male cheerleader would help me as a comic because no matter what kind of person you are on stage, someone's always going to throw something at you because you are a public figure with an open target. Yeah,
I remember one time, I have a bit about how bad our football team was and our cheer team won, and then I got beat up for telling the football players I was better than them. That's a true story. And there's a football player who hated me because I was friends with a few of the football players, and he just could not get over the fact that I was a cheerleader. Like he just obviously very homophobic, stuff like that. Just couldn't get over that I was a guy and I was in cheer. He just could not handle the people liked me. He just really hated me. And I won state for mascotting, so I was mentioned, and the team just lost by a bunch. And me and the quarterback were making fun of how better I was than the football team. And this guy just did not like it, and he threw me up against a wall. And obviously it's high school, so a circle came around, and I just threw my backpack off to my friend. And he goes, my friend's just like, what are you doing? And I go, everybody gather around. This guy double the size of me is really going to show me that he's a big, tough man. And then he goes, I'm about to drop you. And I go, hey, everybody, did you hear that? I'm going to get beat up. How weird. And then I kept doing that to him in the circle, and he kept getting more frustrated. I go, what are you going to do? Fucking hit me? I go, cool. I'm going to let you know I'm going to cry. I go, did anybody, I just turn around and go, anybody think I wasn't going to cry? I go, what are you going to prove? He goes, that you're a pussy. I go, everybody knows that I'm a pussy. I go, I don't know how to fight, man. I don't have a dad. I go, I'm going to throw a punch at you. It's going to be ugly. I go, but if I hit you, I go, what if I hit you and broke your nose? You know how bad that would make you look? And I just kept narrating what was going to happen to him. And he walked away. And I just went, that's right. And he turned around and I go, dude, you still hit me. Nobody wins. You just get suspended and kicked off the football team. I go, this isn't a fight that I lose, bud. And he goes, yeah, it is, because I'm going to beat you up. And I was like, yeah, okay. I go, I don't lose when you beat me up, right? Everybody knew. No one's going to be like, did you hear Josh got beat up? They're just going to be like, did you hear a football player picked on somebody way smaller than him? Yeah, that's so like. But that got me fiery. And I always loved stand-up comedy. So like just doing that, and then I waited till I was 26 to start comedy. I just always wanted to do it, but like just always being that guy to always have the quick response, because I wasn't strong and I wasn't fast and I wasn't good at sports, so I needed something, and that was my thing. And then I somehow at 37 turned into a thing I get to pay my bills doing. Nice. Which is such a freaking weird thing. I went to college for hotel management. I should be working at a resort.
Yeah,
I worked at nice resorts, and it's super cool. But I keep doing this instead.
Yep. Now you're making me think of like what I did in high school that sort of like prepped me for comedy.
Yeah, what was your thing?
I did cross country.
Okay, so you got
That
picked on a lot for that too.
Well, just tell me like how to keep going the distance.
Yeah. How far do you? Because I don't know. How far do you run in cross country?
It's most races are like about 3 miles.
Okay, so 5K.
Yep.
That's not terribly on. I thought you guys were running like 10 miles a day.
No, that was during practice sometimes.
Okay, so I was right. I remember they'd just be running all day.
Yep. It was a great way to learn about your town because we would run all over.
Yeah, because that was the difference between cross country and track, right? It's like you ran through like the town.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I went to high school. I went to high school in Arizona, so they ran like around this because I lived by Luke Air Force Base, but there's a big watermelon field in between our school and the base, so they would run around the field like a couple times, the watermelon field.
Yep, our cross country team would run around town and we would steal stuff off the highway.
Like what? Like signs?
Yep, signs, traffic cones. One time we took somebody's mailbox.
Oh, do you have any of that stuff still?
No, it was all the police confiscated
it. Yeah,
because we would take and then we would move a towel like in the ceiling. We'd all put like a giant collection like in the hallway.
Okay, so you had like it was like the cross country team's like collection of cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And then somebody ratted us out.
Oh, dude, that person should be kicked off the team.
Yeah, they should. We ran him out of town.
Oh, that's why you do this.
Yep.
What else you got on the bullet points? I cheerleaded.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then
my cheerleading coach weirdly just messaged me because she used my commercial in her class teaching about ethos.
Ethos?
Yeah, ethos, just believing in something.
Okay.
So like the lucky chair being the main point of it, but she got to use my commercial and she got to tell the students that she was my coach and my teacher. So
nice.
That gave her a little clout to be like, because she works in Temecula, California, which is like only an hour away from LA. So like some of those kids, like she has 2 kids in her class who are like TikTok hype kids. So she's like, oh, I also know famous people. This kid's in a commercial. He's my friend. He was my student. So I know people.
Yeah. Let's see. I was going to talk about health issues, but I don't know if you watched the episode with Mike Lester. He brought up your hemorrhoids.
Oh, Mike Lester brought up my hemorrhoids? What did he say?
He just talked about the story, like when he was in the waiting room.
Oh, Mike Lester did come to one of my appointments. I totally forgot.
Yeah.
Because I was getting mildly put under. It wasn't a full surgery, but I wasn't put under, but it was the Twilight thing where you're awake, but you have no feeling, and they kind of cut off my legs down. And Mike Lester came and he couldn't have been more inappropriate. I don't know how he told the story. Mike Lester, granted, was there to give me a ride home. Very nice of him. I will also tell you another story about another surgery and another comic we both know. I've had 4 hemorrhoid surgeries. The one that Mike Lester got was super, like the guy did not do a good job. They came back right away. Mike Lester, I got it done. I got that one done. I didn't get it done at a hospital. I got it done because just through Googling, I found this doctor and it was a plastic surgeon. So I think he did it more cosmetically than like medically. So it didn't fix anything and I was still in a lot of pain. But they also did like vaginal reconstruction and stuff. And they had
That's
pamphlets.
what Mike was talking about. He was
running around with the pamphlet. He was running around the waiting room going, this looks like a bat wing. Look at these labias. He was just yelling it.
This is going to give you COVID.
Oh, man. Mike Lester did bring me to that appointment. I'm all better now, in case anybody's wondering. I've had 2 near-death surgeries. The last one I got was 2022, right before Louie passed, actually, weirdly enough. You know who brought me that surgery? Johnny C.
Ooh.
Johnny C, for you guys who don't know, was a Minneapolis comic. You know him, Kelly, right?
Yep, I've seen him quite a bit before he moved out. Yeah,
Johnny C he was a Minneapolis comic. Now he's an LA comic. I think he's originally from LA. But he has face tattoos. He's just like a big rockabilly guy. He used to be a body piercer and tattoo artist in the 90s on Sunset. He's just like a super like a stereotypical cool Hollywood guy. He's lived in Hollywood most of his life. And
I
he's
remember
been
him wearing the hat.
he always wears the hat. He always wears the hat and a jacket with his name on it and a belt with his name on it.
Goes with his character.
Johnny C is one of my favorite people in the whole world. I hang out with him pretty often still. But he brought me to my surgery, and I gave him Louie's number and my mom's number, and I forgot I didn't know Johnny's last name. I just knew him as Johnny C. So because the surgery, I had like a 40-60% chance on making it, or 60-40. It was more than less. So 40% I could have passed away. But I basically, long story short, I had that hemorrhoid surgery with Lester. That didn't work. I got another one. That lady nicked an artery.
Ooh.
And that was if you remember, if you remember, Kelly, it was like right when you started. I wasn't in comedy for like a year and a half. And I've told the story at a bunch of podcasts, but I checked myself out of the hospital when they found out they nicked the artery and they wanted to do the cleanup surgery because I was emceeing for Louie at the Laugh Factory for a week. And I talked the doctor into letting me check out for a weekend with a nicked artery, and I was bleeding inside of myself.
So you were on stage bleeding out?
I was on stage bleeding inside of myself, not
okay.
I was bleeding right into my own stomach. And then I came back and I had 10 days. I was in the hospital. I had like 2 or 3 surgeries, got it all fixed up, but there's still some things that they had to take care of. And then I got those done in 2022. So Johnny brought me to that surgery. I go in, we're doing all the paperwork, and they're like, oh, who's taking you home and everything? You're going to go home same day, but we're going to give you a lot of pills and stuff. You're not going to be able to drive. And I go, oh, this is my buddy. He's with me. And Johnny was in the room. I had to be in an office because I had to fill out like will stuff. And they're like, what? Okay, so what is this guy's name? And I go, Johnny C. And they're like, what does the C stand for? And I turned around and I go, what does the C stand for? And the guy was like, dude, I just made you make sure that all the stuff you own and all your money is being signed over if you don't make it. And the guy you brought to bring you home, you don't know his last name. And he has face tattoos. And I'm like, Johnny C, what's your name? And the guy was like, all right, yeah, Johnny Chisholm will be taking you home, I guess. He goes, is this who we're giving the prescriptions to? Because I was getting like Vicodin and oxycodone and stuff. And I was like, yep.
Sounds...
my mom was so worried because she's like, who's Johnny C? I'm like, oh, he's a comic. He's a great dude. And she's like, all right. And she was texting him back and forth. She's like, seems like good dude. Can you send me a picture of him? And I was like, we shouldn't do that. And she goes, why? I go, because you like him right now. She goes, what does he look like? And I sent her the picture. She goes, you trust this dude with prescription pills? And I was like, I guess. and she's like, okay. And I'm like, yeah, I'm probably gonna give him some to pay for this ride.
Yeah.
No,
Here's $5 and a Vicodin.
Yeah, I think I did too. I think I gave him like 40 and like 3 Vicodin. I don't remember. I was so out of it when I got home. I just remember he made sure I got home and he put a bunch of drinks on my nightstand and some Uncrustables and then went home.
Nice.
He did make the obviously comic comment when I got in the car. I got in the car. He goes, if you make it and you don't bring me out to feature in your theater tour, I will fucking kill you. He goes, if you make it before me and you get on a tour and don't bring me with the whole time because I did this for you, like, and I go, is this why you did this? He goes, hell yeah, man, I'm riding those coattails.
Yeah.
He goes, I'm just gonna start driving dudes to surgery.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah. So I've had a lot of battles with my GI and stuff. I've had part of my colon removed, and then I've had 3 hemorrhoid surgeries, all of them kind of related to kind of the same thing, and then the nicked artery. Mm-hmm. So I've in total, I think I've been doing comedy. I think I started 13 years ago, and then I think I've taken 2.5, 3 years off due to medical, and then this last couple of years I took a year off due to Louie. Nice. I guess 2 or 3 years because I was taking care of him. I was still doing sets here and there, but I wasn't like doing comedy. So when people ask me, I feel like I shouldn't say 13 years because I haven't been doing it 13 years. I mean, I've been in it 13 years, but like really probably like 9.
Yeah, we have when most comics start, they have the year where they do like a couple mics and then
a
couple more, and then they start doing like the real way regularly.
Yeah, so serious comedy probably like 9 years. But yeah, I've had a long medical road, but I am all better now, and my GI is fine, and I can eat spicy food. You live in Austin, you guys got barbecue, and Mexican food there. We got tons of Mexican food here. It'd be hard not to get to have it. It's so good, and I love it so much. That is my treat. After a good set, I want nothing more than to take the $20 to $50 I made having that set, because Ellie doesn't pay shit. I take that $20 and I bring it right to a taco cart, and I get a pastor quesadilla, and they're usually like $9. I tip $1 or $2, and that is my perfect after show. If I kill, I get a quesadilla, and that is what I promised myself.
It's so rewarding, like I used to eat food like after you had a good set. Like that's what I'm trying to do. Like
the meal after a good set, man. There's nothing better.
Like I remember when I would host an open mic in a little spot out of town, I would just drive back and have like a rewarding meal afterwards on the way back, like a good Whataburger chicken sandwich.
Oh yeah, that everybody has like their thing, and I've learned that Louie and all the Comedy Store guys, this used to be Carney's or else Mel's. I think it probably still is, but like everybody has that after show thing where they're like, I don't know, it feels like kind of like you made a couple video game and cartoon references, like you've defeated all the bosses and now this is your reward. You went on stage, you've defeated the stage, you won the audience, and now you get this meal, and it's like it's that victory dinner. It's like Game of Thrones after their battles where they're eating and there's the big table of food. That's what it feels like every time, but it's just me at a taco cart.
Yeah, especially like when you do a set together, there's a couple of comics on the road. Like I remember like having one meal with Will Spiber and Robert Brill at a House of Pancakes.
Yeah,
I won out with friends.
I love both those guys. Both those guys are the best. I've opened for Brill and Spotted Bear a bunch of times. Those guys are great.
Yep. Yeah, Will was my first interview for this podcast.
Really? Oh, he has so many stories too. He's never died on stage, almost died, but he's done some stuff.
Yeah, I guess that explains why he's super good at the military.
He is super good at the military.
Yeah, well, I think the last thing I'll ask you about is like, did you watch Louie Anderson's cartoon as a kid?
Oh yeah, man. Life with Louie, it was cool because I knew I was related to him, and so the coolest part was like his older sister was my grandma. Like she didn't voice it or anything, but that was it felt like my grandma was a celebrity too. So that was always super cool. Yeah, I loved Life with Louie. I loved Family Feud. I got to go on set one time.
Ooh.
But yeah, we got to go. We went to California. My grandma took us to Disney and stuff, but she took us to watch a filming of it, so it was pretty cool. Yeah, I love the cartoon, and actually, when Louie passed, I have some really good friends out here who also knew Louie, like some celebrity family friends that Louie were friends with that have also befriended me. And they had me come over. Their kids are also performers. I'm not gonna say who they are, but their kids are also performers. And we just watched Life with Louie and stuff, and it couldn't have been a better experience. I was so broken, and to watch that with them, and then they also helped me because a lot of people were calling me like the Pioneer Press and stuff because they wanted quotes from me. So that was extremely hard to do, where I'm wrapping my head around, because me and Louie's relationship, by the end, I lived with him through the whole pandemic. I was with him when he was sick. I didn't have a dad. He didn't have kids. We had a very father-son relationship by the end. So it was just incredibly hard. And then to lose somebody so close to me and then have to like convey how I felt about them to the press like 3 hours later, because I couldn't put words together to tell people if I wanted pancakes that 10 minutes before that. I have to contract everything I felt about this person and make it seem nice for the paper or whatever. But they helped me with all that. It was so sweet. And we watched Life with Louie and got high and hung out, and it was a blast.
Yep. I'm going to talk about like my favorite episode of Life with Louie.
What is your favorite? Because mine has changed. It's all on YouTube, so you can go rewatch it. But mine has changed from what it was when I was a kid.
The one I enjoyed, the one where he was being mentored by the other comedian.
Oh yeah, that one was a very good one. I like the goldfish episode,
where he animated out his story.
Yeah, we fed the goldfish like donuts and stuff. Yeah, and the holiday episodes, because I guess they always give me that feeling of when I was a little kid. Like some of those people were there. The only teddy bear I have is actually from Louie's mom, Aura.
Oh wow.
She got me. She was alive when I was born, so she got me a bear with a T-shirt that says Joshua, and it's the only bear I've ever had, and it's always been my favorite bear.
Yeah, well, I enjoyed the episode where Lou was mentored by a comic, where he also talked of it's about the lesson, like the effect of like being mean on stage, and I think that was like a great lesson for future comedians.
Yeah. Yeah, to not be mean on stage, even though his mentor was Rodney Dangerfield.
Mhm. But I think it's sort of like a
Yeah. Rodney was so close with Louis. I saw you look at and you're like, what? Yeah, Louis did Rodney's Young Comics. The Rodney's Young Comics special. Louis was one of the first people that like helped break his career.
Oh, wow.
It really broke Kennison and Dice were also on that episode, and
Yep.
they just exploded.
But I think like professional comedians, they know how to be like mean in like a friend way, like when you're complaining about like a bad day to a personal friend.
Yeah, they know how to. The way I talk about it is like putting heart behind it, because I make fun of like my girlfriend's parents and my girlfriend and things like that on stage, and people are like, do you ever worry about being too mean? And I'm like, I think the crowd knows like who I am up there, and the things I'm saying I mean with love. I'm not trying to be mean or anything. I'm ribbing them a little bit, but like I'm not doing it out of any vengeful mean way. It's all in love.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing with comics who can get away with being mean to people on stage and stuff. It's like it's coming from like kind of a silly place or a way where I'm not trying to offend you. I'm ribbing you, but I don't want you to be offended or upset. It's just kind of a fun thing. We're being silly.
It's a skill that takes many years to, like to master.
Yeah. It's what we all do, Kelly, in the green room when we're all roasting each other. Because you know that every comic green room is just roast central. And you know no one's being mean or trying to hurt anybody's feelings, but we're all trying to have the best one.
Yep, I remember those CCU green room sits.
Yeah, you're always just trying to make everybody laugh. You're doing that at others' expense, but you don't want them to be upset. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, but I think that's a good way to end this interview. It's like whatever you do, do it with love, and people will like it, even when you're an asshole.
Do it with love. Be real. Be yourself. That's all the things you can do.
All right. I think this is Berger out.
Berger out.
It's gonna be my exit catchphrase.